You are sitting in a dimly lit doctor's office, and the air feels heavy. You have just been told that your fasting blood sugar is climbing again. You feel a cold pit in your stomach because you know what follows. You have seen it in your family, or perhaps you have felt it in your own body. The tingling in your toes that never quite goes away. The blurry vision that makes you blink twice just to read a label. The exhaustion that hits you like a tidal wave every afternoon, no matter how much coffee you drink. This is what I call the silent rot. It is the slow, invisible damage that high glucose inflicts on your delicate nerves, your kidneys, and your cardiovascular system every single hour of every single day. For years, the world has handed you a single, exhausting solution. Stop eating. Stop eating bread. Stop eating fruit. Stop eating the foods that give you joy. You have been told that carbohydrates are the enemy, and that your only hope is a life of restriction and a growing cabinet full of prescription bottles. But what if I told you that this narrative is fundamentally incomplete? What if the reason your numbers are not coming down is not because you are eating too many carbs, but because you are missing the vital tools your body needs to process them? My name is Dr. Ethan Cole. Over the last 2 decades, I have stood on the front lines of metabolic health, working with thousands of patients who felt they were at a dead end. They were terrified of the future, scared of losing their independence, and tired of being told that their disease was their own fault for having a slice of toast. What I discovered in my clinic changed everything. We found that the fastest, most sustainable way to normalize blood sugar is not through radical elimination, but through strategic addition. By adding 10 specific, evidence-based foods to your daily routine, you can actually reprogram your biochemistry from the inside out. I have watched patients who were facing maximum dosages of medication turn their health around in a matter of weeks. They did not do it by starving. They did it by feeding their cells exactly what they were starving for. In this masterclass, I am going to show you how these 10 foods work as biological switches to quiet the noise in your system and bring your sugar down naturally. But before we get to the foods, you have to understand the invisible war happening inside your bloodstream right now. If you want to stop the silent rot and finally take back control, pay very close attention to what I am about to tell you. To fix a problem, you must first understand exactly where it is broken. Most people believe that high blood sugar is a problem of having too much sugar in the blood. While that is technically true on the surface, it is like saying a flood is a problem of having too much water. The real question is, why isn't the water draining? In a healthy body, your metabolism is a beautifully choreographed dance. When you eat, your body breaks down food into glucose, which is the primary fuel for every cell in your brain, your heart, and your muscles. As sugar enters your bloodstream, your pancreas releases a hormone called insulin. Think of insulin as a polite messenger carrying a golden key. This messenger travels through your blood, approaches the door of your muscle and liver cells, and knocks. The key fits into a receptor, the door swings open, and the glucose leaves your blood to go inside the cell where it is burned for energy. When this system works, your blood sugar stays in a tight, healthy range, and you feel vibrant and focused. But in the world we live in today, something has gone terribly wrong. We call it insulin resistance, but I want you to visualize it as the locked door. After years of being bombarded by stress, processed oils, and constant sugar spikes, your cells have become overwhelmed. It is as if the cell has decided to put on noise-canceling headphones. The insulin messenger knocks and knocks, but the cell stays silent. The key no longer turns in the lock. Because the sugar cannot get into the cell, it stays trapped in your bloodstream. Your brain senses this and sends a panic signal to your pancreas. We need more insulin. So your pancreas pumps out 5 times, 10 times, 20 times the normal amount of insulin just to force a little bit of sugar through that resistant door. This is the moment where most modern medicine fails you. Standard treatments often focus on pushing even more insulin into a system that is already drowning in it. It is like trying to open a jammed door by hitting it with a sledgehammer. You might get the door open eventually, but you are destroying the frame in the process. High insulin levels are just as dangerous as high sugar. They cause your body to store belly fat, they drive up your blood pressure, and they create a state of chronic, low-grade inflammation that makes your cells even more deaf to the next round of insulin. You are trapped in a vicious cycle. The cells are starving for energy on the inside while being bathed in toxic levels of sugar on the outside. This is the cellular crisis that leads to the silent rot. But here is the breakthrough. You do not have to keep hitting that door with a sledgehammer. Each of the 10 foods I am about to show you performs a specific medical function. Some of them act like a lubricant for the lock, making the key turn easily again. Others act like a barrier at the front gate, slowing down the arrival of sugar so the messenger isn't overwhelmed. And some actually go deep inside the cell to clean out the metabolic sludge that is causing the resistance in the first place. We are not just going to mask your symptoms today. We are going to address the root cause. We are going to wake your receptors up, calm the inflammation, and give your pancreas the rest it deserves. Let us begin with the first category of these metabolic miracles, the digestive speed breaks. Now that you understand that the problem is a communication breakdown at the cellular level, we need to talk about the first line of defense, the gut. Most blood sugar spikes are decided in the first 30 minutes after you swallow a bite of food. If your digestion is too fast, your bloodstream is hit with a tidal wave of glucose that your insulin simply cannot manage. This is where our first category of foods comes in. I call these the digestive speed breaks. Their job is to physically and chemically slow down the arrival of sugar so that your system can handle it with grace instead of panic. The first tool in this category is something you may have walked past 1,000 times in the spice aisle without a second glance. These are fenugreek seeds. These small amber-colored seeds have been used for centuries in traditional medicine, but modern science has finally caught up to why they are so effective. Fenugreek is unique because it is incredibly dense in a specific type of soluble fiber called galactomannan. When you consume fenugreek, that galactomannan fiber hits the liquids in your stomach and undergoes a transformation. It swells into a thick, viscous gel that coats the lining of your small intestine. This gel acts like a biological net, trapping the carbohydrates from your meal and forcing them to be digested at a fraction of their normal speed. Instead of your blood sugar looking like a jagged mountain peak, it looks like a gentle, rolling hill. But fenugreek goes even deeper. It contains a rare amino acid called 4-hydroxyisoleucine, which has been shown in clinical trials to nudge the pancreas to release insulin more efficiently, while simultaneously helping your muscle cells become more sensitive to that insulin. In my practice, I tell patients to take 1 teaspoon of whole fenugreek seeds and soak them in a glass of water overnight. By morning, the seeds are soft, and the water is infused with their compounds. Drink the water and eat the seeds before your breakfast. It has a slightly bitter, maple-like flavor, but that bitterness is the sound of your metabolism waking up. The second speed break is the mighty chia seed. These tiny black and gray seeds are famous for their ability to absorb up to 12 times their weight in water. If you have ever seen chia seeds sit in a glass of water, you've seen them turn into a jelly-like substance. This is exactly what happens inside your digestive tract. This mucilaginous gel serves as a physical barrier. It wraps around the sugars and starches in your meal, slowing their absorption to a crawl. But chia seeds offer a secondary benefit that is crucial for fixing insulin resistance. They are one of the richest plant sources of alpha-linolenic acid, a type of omega-3 fatty acid. One of the reasons your cells stop answering the door to insulin is that the gut can become inflamed, a condition known as postprandial endotoxemia. When you eat a high-sugar meal, inflammatory toxins can leak from your gut into your blood. Chia seeds help prevent this by strengthening the gut lining and cooling that inflammation before it ever reaches your cells. 1 to 2 tablespoons a day, stirred into yogurt or a smoothie, and allowed to gel for 10 minutes, can create a massive shift in your post-meal numbers. While the speed breaks handle the food coming in, our next group of foods handles the sugar that is already being produced inside you. Many of my patients come to me frustrated because they stop eating at 7 p.m., but when they wake up at 7 a.m., their blood sugar is higher than when they went to bed. This is often due to the liver factory. Your liver is designed to produce glucose while you sleep to keep your brain fueled. But in a state of insulin resistance, the liver loses its off switch. It churns out sugar all night long, leaving you with high numbers before you've even had a bite of toast. This brings us to one of the most powerful foods on this entire list, broccoli sprouts. I am not talking about the large heads of mature broccoli you find in the produce section. I am talking about the tiny, 3-day-old sprouts. These sprouts contain up to 100 times more of a compound called sulforaphane than the mature vegetable. Sulforaphane is a metabolic miracle worker. Research out of Sweden has shown that sulforaphane can actually talk directly to your liver cells and tell them to quiet down. It activates a pathway called NRF2, which is your body's primary defense against oxidative stress. By calming the liver and reducing the internal production of glucose, broccoli sprouts can lower fasting blood sugar levels in a way that almost no other food can. A small handful of these sprouts on a salad or sandwich is all you need. Just remember, do not cook them. High heat destroys the enzyme needed to activate the sulforaphane. Eat them raw to get the full medical benefit. Finally, we have the most famous, yet often misunderstood tool in the kit, apple cider vinegar. The active ingredient here is acetic acid, and its effect on blood sugar is so profound that it rivals some pharmaceutical interventions. Acetic acid works through two distinct mechanisms. First, it further slows gastric emptying, ensuring that food stays in the stomach longer. Second, and more importantly, it changes how your muscles interact with sugar. When acetic acid enters your system, it activates an enzyme called AMPK, which acts like a master power switch for your metabolism. This switch tells your muscles to start shoveling glucose out of the blood and into the muscle fibers to be used as fuel, even if you aren't exercising. A landmark study showed that just 1 tablespoon of vinegar diluted in water before a carbohydrate-rich meal could reduce the resulting blood sugar spike by as much as 30%. However, you must use this correctly. Never drink it straight, as the acid can damage your tooth enamel and your esophagus. Always dilute 1 tablespoon in a large glass of water and drink it through a straw about 15 minutes before your meal. This simple habit creates a chemical buffer that protects your system from the incoming glucose. By silencing the liver and activating the muscles, you are attacking the problem of high blood sugar from both ends of the spectrum. But we aren't done yet. Our next group of foods moves from the gut and the liver directly to the cell membrane itself. So we have discussed how to slow down the sugar and how to quiet the liver. But now we must address the most stubborn part of the equation, the inflammation that acts like metabolic smoke inside your body. If you could zoom in and look at the surface of your cells, you would see a complex, shimmering membrane. This membrane is the skin of the cell, and it is where the insulin receptors live. In a healthy body, this skin is fluid, flexible, and responsive. But when you have chronic high blood sugar, your body becomes inflamed. This inflammation makes that cell membrane stiff and rigid. It is like trying to turn a key in a lock that has been rusted shut by salt air. This brings us to our third category, the cellular firefighters. These foods don't just lower sugar, they repair the very surface of your cells so that insulin can finally do its job again. The undisputed leaders of this group are fatty fish, specifically wild-caught salmon, mackerel, and sardines. These fish are teeming with 2 specific types of omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA. These aren't just healthy fats, they are the literal building blocks of your cell membranes. When you eat fatty fish, your body takes those omega-3 molecules and weaves them into the skin of your cells. This makes the membrane more fluid. It's like oiling the hinges of a rusty door. Suddenly, the insulin receptor can move more freely, and it can grip the insulin molecule with much higher affinity. In my 15 years of clinical practice, I have seen that patients who consume fatty fish at least twice a week have much lower levels of C-reactive protein, which is a key marker of internal inflammation. When inflammation goes down, insulin sensitivity goes up. If you find fresh fish too expensive, do not overlook canned mackerel or sardines. They are affordable, shelf-stable, and contain some of the highest concentrations of these firefighting fats available on the planet. The second firefighter in this group is the walnut. While many nuts are healthy, walnuts are in a league of their own because of their high concentration of alpha-linolenic acid and polyphenols. High blood sugar doesn't just hurt your cells. It destroys the delicate lining of your blood vessels, known as the endothelium. Think of high glucose as tiny shards of broken glass rushing through your veins. Over time, this glass shreds the lining of your arteries, leading to the complications we all fear. Walnuts act as a protective shield. They improve endothelial function, allowing your blood vessels to relax and dilate properly. But more importantly, for our goal today, the specific combination of fiber, protein, and polyunsaturated fats in walnuts has been shown to lower fasting insulin levels. This means your body doesn't have to work as hard to keep your sugar stable. A small handful, about 7 to 10 whole walnuts, as a mid-afternoon snack can turn a dangerous blood sugar spike into a harmless flat line. As we move into our fourth category, I want to introduce a concept that will change the way you look at your plate forever. It is called the second meal effect. This is the scientific reality that what you eat for breakfast determines how your body handles the sugar you eat for lunch and even dinner. If you start your day with a metabolic anchor, you stabilize your chemistry for the next 12 hours. The most powerful anchor in existence is the whole egg. For decades, you were told to avoid eggs because of cholesterol, but that was one of the most damaging pieces of health advice ever given. A whole egg is a near-perfect food for a diabetic or someone with insulin resistance. It contains almost zero carbohydrates, meaning it has virtually no impact on your blood sugar. But it is the protein and the healthy fats in the yolk that do the heavy lifting. When you eat eggs in the morning, you are flooding your system with an amino acid called leucine, which helps regulate muscle protein synthesis and glucose uptake. By choosing eggs over cereal or toast, you aren't just avoiding a morning spike, you are preloading your system to handle the rest of your day better. Patients of mine who make this one switch, moving from a high-carb breakfast to a 3-egg omelet, often see a 10 to 15% drop in their average daily glucose readings within 48 hours. Next, we have the avocado. I call the avocado the glycemic buffer. The beauty of the avocado lies in its monounsaturated fats, specifically oleic acid. This is the same heart-healthy fat found in olive oil, but it comes wrapped in a massive amount of prebiotic fiber. When you add half an avocado to a meal that contains carbohydrates, like a bowl of lentils or a slice of whole grain sourdough, you are essentially putting a muffler on the sugar. The fats and fiber slow down the entire digestive process, ensuring that the glucose enters your blood at a slow, steady drip, rather than a flood. Furthermore, oleic acid has been shown to directly improve the health of the insulin-producing cells in your pancreas, protecting them from burning out. Finally, we have the mimic, Ceylon cinnamon. This is where most people make a critical mistake. They buy the common cassia cinnamon from the grocery store, which contains a compound called coumarin that can be toxic to the liver in high doses. You must look for Ceylon cinnamon, often labeled as true cinnamon. Ceylon cinnamon contains unique polyphenols that act almost exactly like insulin themselves. They can actually bind to your insulin receptors and signal the cell to open the door for glucose, even if your own insulin levels are low. In a sense, cinnamon does some of the work for you, giving your pancreas a much-needed break. Research has shown that even less than half a teaspoon a day can meaningfully lower fasting blood sugar. It is the easiest win in your kitchen. Stir it into your morning coffee, sprinkle it on your eggs, or mix it into a smoothie. By using these anchors, eggs, avocado, and cinnamon, you are no longer at the mercy of your last meal. You are proactively setting the stage for a stable, healthy day. But there is one food left that brings all of this together, a carbohydrate that actually fights diabetes. We will cover that, along with the story of a woman named Evelyn, who used these exact foods to save her life, in our final sections. Throughout this video, we have talked about slowing sugar down, silencing the liver, and firefighting inflammation. But many of you are asking, can I ever eat a carbohydrate again? This brings us to our 10th and final food, which I call the resistance pillar. These are lentils. Most people are terrified of lentils because they contain carbohydrates. But lentils are a unique biological specimen. They are built from a foundation of what we call resistant starch. Unlike the starch in a white potato or white bread, resistant starch is not digested in your small intestine. It resists digestion and travels all the way to your large intestine, where it becomes a feast for your beneficial gut bacteria. As your gut bacteria ferment this resistant starch, they produce something called short-chain fatty acids, specifically one called propionate. Propionate travels through your blood to your liver and signals it to stop producing excess sugar. This is why lentils carry the most powerful second meal effect in the plant kingdom. If you eat a bowl of lentil soup for lunch, the propionate produced in your gut will actually improve your insulin sensitivity for your dinner several hours later. By swapping out white rice, pasta, or potatoes for lentils, you are not just eating a better carb, you are eating a carb that teaches your body how to handle other sugars. To show you how all 10 of these foods work in the real world, I want to tell you the story of a woman I will call Evelyn. Evelyn was 68 years old when she first walked into my clinic. She was a retired school teacher and a grandmother who lived for her weekend gardening. But when I met her, she was terrified. Her fasting blood sugar was consistently hitting 190, her A1C was 8.2, and her doctor had just told her that if she didn't get her numbers down in the next 90 days, she would have to start daily insulin injections. Evelyn had watched her own father go through the nightmare of diabetic complications, the laser surgeries for his eyes, and eventually the loss of his lower leg. She felt like she was staring down a dark tunnel with no exit. She had tried the no-carb diets, but she felt weak, irritable, and she couldn't stick to it for more than a week. She felt like a failure. I told Evelyn, we are going to stop focused on what you can't have, and we are going to focus on what your cells are starving for. We didn't take away her favorite meals. Instead, we applied the addition protocol. We started her morning with 3 eggs and half an avocado to anchor her day. We added a teaspoon of soaked fenugreek seeds before breakfast. She started carrying a small container of walnuts for her afternoon snack instead of her usual crackers. She began every dinner with a glass of water and a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Twice a week, she had grilled mackerel with a side of lentils and a massive pile of broccoli sprouts. Within the first 14 days, Evelyn called my office. She was in tears because for the first time in 5 years, her morning sugar reading started with a 10. It was 108. By the end of the 3 months, working closely with her primary physician, she didn't just avoid the insulin injections, she was able to reduce her existing oral medications. Her A1C had dropped from 8.2 to 6.4. Today, 2 years later, Evelyn is back in her garden. Her vision is sharp, the tingling in her feet is gone, and most importantly, she is no longer afraid. She didn't win by starving herself, she won by giving her body the tools to heal itself. Now, I want to give you the exact same blueprint I gave to Evelyn. You do not have to do all 10 of these tomorrow. In fact, I don't want you to. Your digestive system needs time to adjust to the increased fiber. We are going to use a stacking strategy over the next 21 days. Week 1 is about the morning anchor and the speed breaks. Starting tomorrow, I want you to replace your cereal, toast, or fruit juice with 2 or 3 whole eggs and half an avocado. This single change is the most powerful lever you can pull. At the same time, start soaking your fenugreek seeds tonight and drink them first thing in the morning. Week 2, we introduce the liver silencers and the mimics. Buy a bottle of organic apple cider vinegar and a jar of Ceylon cinnamon. Start taking your diluted vinegar 15 minutes before your largest meal of the day, and put that 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon in your morning coffee or over your eggs. You are now protecting yourself from both the sugar in your food and the sugar your liver makes. Week 3, we focus on cellular repair. This is when you bring in the fatty fish twice a week, the daily handful of walnuts, and the broccoli sprouts on your salads. By the end of these 21 days, you will have built a metabolic fortress. I must offer one very serious word of caution. If you are currently taking insulin or a class of drugs called sulfonylureas, these 10 foods work so well that they can actually make your medication dose too high. This can lead to hypoglycemia or low blood sugar, which is dangerous. You must monitor your numbers closely. Take this list to your doctor and tell them you are adding these functional foods to your diet. Ask them to help you titrate or lower your medication as your natural numbers improve. Never stop a prescription on your own, but use these foods to prove to your doctor that you don't need those high doses anymore. Now, as you start this journey, many of you are going to notice something strange. You will do everything right during the day. Your evening numbers will be perfect, but you will wake up at 6 a.m. and your sugar will have jumped 20 or 30 points while you were sleeping. You haven't eaten in 10 hours, so where is that sugar coming from? This is known as the dawn phenomenon, and it is the final piece of the puzzle. There is a very specific reason your body dumps sugar into your blood right before the sun comes up, and there is a simple evening routine that can shut it down. I have created a deep dive video specifically on the morning mystery and how to wake up to your lowest number of the day. You can click on that video right here on the screen. Your journey to healing doesn't have to be a journey of deprivation. It is a journey of discovery. Your body wants to be healthy. Your cells want to open those doors. You just have to give them the right invitation. I am Dr. Ethan Cole, and I will see you in the next video to fix your morning numbers.